Whoa, 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 everyone. How's it hanging? Johnny T back in the house for the Springboard Plancha Podcast, doing another solo show here. Still waiting on my boys to make their triumphant returns, but until then, still going to be holding down the fort here for a while. Um, but didn't want to stay on here too long. But I was on a little bit of a vacation last week, so didn't have a show last week. But now I am back, and right in the middle of the King and the Queen the Ring tournaments. And some of these matches have been very good, and it's been a very fantastic tournament. A lot of the newcomers that have come from NXT onto the main roster have had a chance to showcase their talents, and we got a awesome main event this last Monday. I'm just gonna go ahead and get right into that. That was my favorite part of the show. It was Ilya Dragunov versus main event Jey Uso in the quarterfinals. Actually, I think it was just deemed second round. I think that's what it's called. But anyways, that was your main event on Monday, and it was pretty cool. It was pretty nice. Really good match between the two. It was gonna be really hard to decide who should win that one, because it's just so early for Ilya Dragunov to take a loss. But what else do you do in that situation, right? Because uh, Jey Uso has been kind of on a little bit of on a roll since WrestleMania, and you don't want to necessarily slow that momentum down. However, a win by Ilya Dragunov would have been nice to continue to elevate him, and it would have given us the possibility of seeing the Ilya Dragunov versus Gunther matchup that we're all pretty much dying to see. But looks like they're gonna wait on that, because Jey Uso in about 15 minutes takes care of Ilya Dragunov clean as a whistle, and he moves on while Ilya Dragunov gets knocked out of the tournament. But it's an interesting call either way, right? Because I feel like Ilya Dragunov would have been probably, when this tournament was announced and the brackets were put out, that he could have been slated as a potential winner of this, or at least a finalist, maybe getting able to compete at the PLE in Saudi Arabia at Crown Jewel, but will not get that opportunity. Instead, that'll go to Jey Uso, who advanced. But it'll be interesting to see where they go with that. But apparently they wanted to hold off on the Ilya Dragunov and Gunther matchup, so I'm fine with that. Like, I'm perfectly okay with that, because at some point down the line, those two guys are going to go at it, and I am excited for whenever that happens. But for now, we're just gonna have to wait there. Gunther, speaking of Gunther, he also did move on as he defeated Kofi Kingston in his tournament matchup, so he moves on to be able to compete in Crown Jewel at the tournament, and he's on a collision course with Jey Uso on the Raw side of the tournament, and that'll be interesting. We've only seen that matchup once, and Jey almost came out with that victory, and that was during the time when it was for the Intercontinental Championship. But Gunther looked awesome as usual, and it looks like he's added a little bit more of a submission style to himself. So winning the match of Kofi Kingston with the Boston Crab off a powerbomb combination, and another pretty decent match there. So Gunther will now get a chance to have another match with Jey Uso, and to determine who's going to continue there on the Raw side of the tournament. So as we look at the brackets here, just so that this way we can kind of all be on the same page as we're talking about this, and there won't be any kind of confusion as to what we're talking about here. At this point now, like I said, Jey Uso beat Ilya Dragunov, so he moves on to face Gunther on the Raw side. In the semifinals, that was the quarterfinal matchup. So in the semifinals at Crown Jewel, it'll be Jey Uso versus Gunther, and that should be pretty good. I'm gonna say Gunther's probably the one that should win that matchup, because I think this tournament, if Ilya Dragunov wasn't going to win this tournament, it's gonna be Gunther. I mean, I don't see anybody else. I mean, we go over to the SmackDown side, and this Friday we'll have the matchups between Actually, excuse me. Did those already happen, or am I confused about what has happened here? No. Okay. So this Friday we will have the quarterfinal matchups on SmackDown between Tama Tonga versus LA Knight, which that'll be very, very interesting. We've gotten a couple of good looks at Tama Tonga over the past couple of weeks, and he's looking pretty good. And LA Knight is back on a little bit of a winning streak again. We'll see if he makes it to Saudi Arabia. But on the other side, we'll have Randy Orton versus Carmelo Hayes for the first time. And Carmelo Hayes has been showing out since he made another call, since he made his, well, call it second call up to the main roster, since he got drafted to SmackDown. So those two matchups would be pretty good. I'm gonna say that as much as I love LA Knight, I think Tama Tonga losing a match right now is not the right call, unless there's some kind of shenanigans or something that takes place between like KO or Randy getting involved with all that and whatnot. But I think Tama Tonga, this has him going to Saudi, and LA Knight unfortunately getting left off of another PLE, which would be very, very disappointing. There's a lot I can talk about. I might just do a solo show on whether or not WWE is currently fumbling the bag with LA Knight right now. But anyways, that's for a different story. And then we go to Randy Orton, though. So Randy Orton, I think, should beat Carmelo Hayes. As good as Carmelo Hayes has been over the past couple of weeks, I think he should beat him so that you can set up Tama Tonga versus Randy Orton one-on-one in Saudi Arabia at Crown Jewel, to then give you a potential finals matchup, which I would predict would probably be... since I'm thinking Gunther's gonna come out from the Raw side, I'm thinking that it's got to be Randy, right? Then that's where you'll give Tama Tonga his first loss, maybe in some way. Because if it's Tama Tonga versus Gunther in the finals, that doesn't make a lot of sense because of the heel versus heel aspect of that. So I would think Randy's probably going to be the one to make it to the finals, and then you'd have him face Gunther in the finals, which would be kind of interesting and kind of cool to see. And it would also be the first time, from my recollection, that we would see Gunther versus Randy Orton as well. And that's really because they're on two different shows right now. That would be one of the only ways you can get those two guys in a match. So that'd be pretty cool to be able to see that. Something that we maybe just a little under a year ago maybe didn't think we might be able to see, and now we're going to get to see that. So who should I mean, I really think on the men's side, Gunther should win the King of the Ring, because I think it'll help continue to elevate him post WrestleMania, of course, after losing the Intercontinental Championship. He's obviously moving on to bigger and better things, right? And what better way than to make him the King of the Ring, and then push him forward, continue to push him forward, right? And if you have him lose in this tournament, it's only going to make it worse for him, I guess. And so I don't think that's what you need to do with Gunther. You took away the Intercontinental Championship from him so that way you can elevate him into something bigger. And this is one of those ways to be able to do that. So that's why I think Gunther will ultimately come out on top in this, on the men's side of the tournament. I don't think that Jey Uso is the one that needs to get that under his belt. I think Ilya Dragunov is the one that needs to get, Gunther is the one that needs to win that. But if they decide to go with Jey, I guess I can see the vision there, because eventually I would guess that they would want him to win the World Heavyweight Championship at some point. But I don't think that's the right call. That's just me, though. So let's go over to the women, right? So the women had a couple of matches on Monday Night Raw as well. We had the quarterfinal matchups between Io Sky and Shayna Baszler, and that was a pretty good match there between those two ladies, and Io Sky comes out on top, so she moves on to the semifinals, and her opponent will be Lyra Valkyria, who disposed of Zoe Stark in a meh match, to be honest. Pretty much kind of skippable. Lyra Valkyria is, I mean, they're really trying to showcase her, and she's good. She's not bad or anything, but she's got a lot of work to do. But having her go this deep already, like she's going to be on the PLE, right, in a semifinal match versus Io on the Raw side. And so that'll be interesting to see what they decide to do with that. Of course, Lyra Valkyria has gotten herself involved in the damage control Becky Lynch scenario with Liv Morgan and all them together at once kind of thing. So she's inserted herself into that via this tournament, having gone against Dakota Kai, and then now going to be going against Io Sky in the semifinals. So that should be interesting there. See how she does in her first outing against Io should be really, really cool. It'll be a good kind of barometer to see what Lyra Valkyria's future holds for her. Although I think on the Raw side of things, I think Io Sky is the call there. Take her to the finals, because I have this on the SmackDown side for the women. It's way, I mean, I don't want to say way more, but it's just crazy intriguing, because the two quarterfinal matches you have there are Nia Jax versus Jade Cargill and Tiffany Stratton versus Bianca Belair. You have an opportunity, and this is why I think something's going to happen on Friday. I'm not sure which one of these two ladies is going to lose, or what's going to happen here, or if someone's going to have like a draw or something where it's going to cause this matchup not to happen. But I find it hard to believe that Nia Jax is going to beat Jade Cargill. I think the goal is here to make Jade continue to look super, super strong, and having her lose a tournament match to Nia Jax on free television is not the way to go. So I don't see Jade Cargill losing there. And then the other one that's intriguing is Tiffany Stratton versus Bianca, right? Because Tiffany's been probably the hottest thing in more than one way on WWE right now, since she made her official call up to the main roster back in February. So, but Bianca Belair is Bianca Belair. She's the number one draft pick. She is the face of the SmackDown women's division right now. So what do you do with that one? That one I feel like we're going to pay attention to for sure, because that to me has like double count out, draw, or whatever written all over it. And it's my understanding that based on the rules of the King of the Ring and the Queen of the Ring tournament, if in the event that a draw happens or something where it's a no contest kind of thing, where it's not an outright winner, then the person then gets a bye in the semifinals, which means that if Jade Cargill wins against Nia Jax, and then we have shenanigans that cause both women to be eliminated from the tournament in the Stratton and Belair match, then that means that Jade would automatically get the bid into the finals. She wouldn't even have to compete in a semifinal match. Of course, you could have something happen where maybe Tiffany Stratton steals a win against Bianca Belair. My thing is that I don't think that doing Jade Cargill versus Bianca Belair right now in a semifinal tournament match so early in Jade's run here is the right call. I think that's a WrestleMania match, in my opinion. That's something that you got to save for one of the big PLEs. And doing it in a semifinal tournament match I don't think is the way to go. It's not how I would do it, but I mean, if they decide to do it now, then I guess they wanted to go ahead and push forward with that. They are also the tag team champions, so maybe that could create some tension for an eventual breakup, maybe down the road or something like that. But I think that pay close attention to that Tiffany Stratton and Bianca Belair match on Friday, because I feel like there might be some shenanigans, or both ladies might get double counted out, or something to that where then Jade Cargill won't even have to compete in a semifinal match, and she'll just get moved. She'll get basically a bye into the finals or something like that. Or Tiffany Stratton sneaks out a victory against Bianca Belair surprisingly, or something like that, and then she ends up going up against Jade. If that ends up happening, it ends up being Jade versus Tiffany. I think once again, this side of the bracket has Jade Cargill winning this tournament all over it. It's her first extended singles run here. She hasn't up until this point, she hadn't really had she's had a couple of squash singles matches with Chelsea Green, but nothing like this right now, where now you're getting her, she's having to to compete in singles matches week in and week out. Of course, she had Piper Niven last week, which was a really, really good, fun little match there. I'm looking forward to Nia versus Jade. That should be a good test for her there. And if Jade does go against either Stratton or Belair, I mean, that's a hell of a 3 to 4 week run there for Jade as far as her beginning of her main roster career in WWE. That's not bad. Those are 3 serviceable ladies that'll definitely put her to the test and show what she got. But I think this women's side of the tournament has Jade Cargill winning it all over. It makes too much sense. However, it would be fun to see someone like Tiffany win this tournament, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Jade is going to lose any matches anytime soon. And definitely in a Queen of the Ring tournament style, I don't think this is the time to have Jade mark her first loss in WWE. So my thing is Jade should win the women's, and Gunther should win the men. That should be your king and queen of the ring by the time we get to the end of the Crown Jewel PLE next Saturday, which we're already close to it, so a little over a week away. Elsewhere in WWE right now, of course, the big one is also, speaking of the women, Liv Morgan will finally get her one-on-one women's title match with Becky for the women's world championship. And it'll just, from all accounts, it doesn't sound like as of right now that it's going to be any kind of stipulation match. It's just going to be a regular match. And if you're asking me, I think right now is the time to have Liv finally win the title here. She's been kind of served to the wolves here, and has been a lamb to the slaughter for the past couple of months, ever since she made her return, being the runner-up at the Royal Rumble, being the runner-up at Elimination Chamber, not even getting a match at WrestleMania for that matter, and WrestleMania was 2 nights. So this is your opportunity now. And of course, she lost the Battle Royal, the over-the-top Battle Royal to Becky and everybody else. So runner-up again. So she's been a runner-up. She hasn't been on WrestleMania, and we're already in the month of May, and Liv Morgan has not done anything of major significance, but yet has been one of the most popular characters. She's the #1 women's merch seller right now. So I think right now, this is it. I understand the building. Me and Cheese talked about this a little bit, and I've talked about this over the past couple of weeks too, is that I get it what they're trying to do. They're trying to build off of this, ultimate underdog, or, this loser kind of mentality, but to try and overcome it all to actually get a chance to be the champion at this point, right? To solidify her second run as a champion in WWE. However, if she loses this match next Saturday, I have no idea what you do with Liv Morgan anymore at this point, because she's going to be deemed just a loser if she hasn't already, right? And I hate to say that, because I'm like Liv Morgan's #1 fan, but I just don't know what you do at that point if she keeps losing. She can't keep losing. At some point, you got to have her win. And I think Becky, of course, Becky, I mean, we all kind of know that. I think she was getting ready to go on a little bit of a vacation after the UK tour, and they had to bring her back out because of the unfortunate injury to Rhea. So now, is she a placeholder, or is she going to hold that title all the way to the time that Rhea comes back? I don't think that should happen. I think now's the opportunity to give Liv Morgan her chance to, on a big stage, to beat arguably one of the biggest women's superstars in the past 10 years. I mean, going along with, anytime you can beat any one of the, 4 horsewomen in a big match like that, it's a big deal. I mean, Rhea beating Becky at WrestleMania was a pretty big deal. So this is the same thing that can happen for Liv. Beating Becky for the title at the PLE would be huge for Liv Morgan, and she should. But if she doesn't, man, I think you're going to start to get yourself into a point that I don't know what you can do with Liv Morgan to make her look like a credible contender, and you may not be able to do to get yourself out of that hole unless there's some kind of something that they want to do in between now and SummerSlam if they have her lose. But man, I just don't see what that does. I think you need to have her win at this point. Arguably, you probably should have had her win the Battle Royal, but I actually like what they've done with Liv since the Battle Royal, as she's furthered into the dissension of just hating on Becky Lynch, turning on her, and and kind of having this mean streak to her a little bit. It's kind of baddie side of Liv Morgan. So I've kind of enjoyed seeing that, and I'm not sure if we would have got that had she just straight up won the title on that Battle Royal. But I think it's time to do it at the Crown Jewel, and if they don't, then I'll be very, very, very interested to see what they do with it. There also will be a WWE Championship match, and I kind of want to come back on here probably this Friday and talk more about this in depth, because I'm very, very curious to the thought process of Cody Rhodes versus Logan Paul, which apparently will be for both championships. I think we'll get that confirmation on Friday, but it sounds like, based on what everybody's been saying, and even Cody and all them, is that this will be, both titles will be on the line. So it's winner take all, and I don't know how I feel about that right now. I don't think making guys be double champions is the right call here. Of course, giving Cody the win would make him a Grand Slam champion, but then you have him holding two titles, and it's like, oh geez, here we go again with this kind of stuff. I don't know. It's interesting. And then Logan Paul getting another championship match, like major title. I think it would have been better off having him defend his U.S. title against somebody else to kind of help elevate that championship. Something that I do feel like has happened over the past couple of months is all of a sudden that U.S. title has kind of like not looked as big as it once was. And this is another part of it, right? Because now you having him go after a bigger title, even though his title's on the line too, it's still one of those kind of weird things that's like, I'm not sure how I feel about this yet. I know that Cody and Logan are probably going to put together a awesome match, but I don't know how I feel right now about it being for both titles. And it would be the second year in a row that Logan Paul gets a title match at Crown Jewel in the Saudi show. So that's kind of interesting. And I thought that was kind of an interesting opponent for Cody for his second title defense coming up. But I guess they needed another heel, so that's what they chose. They chose him, and to be Cody's opponent there. So I don't think Logan's going to win that match. I think Cody's run's going to go deep into the year, if not into next year. But interesting. And if they do the double title thing, I'm going to be very interested to see if Cody wins that match and he's now the United States and the WWE champion, how they go about that with him and that title. And it's not a unification match. It's more, he'll just be a double champion from what I understand. But I think we're going to get more clarification of that on Friday. But a lot of interesting things happening right now in WWE as far as with the guys and the girls that are still healthy. We got a lot of injuries. Of course, Drew McIntyre, add him to the list, add Asuka to the list, and I think we ended up adding another person to the injury list here not too long ago. But the good news coming is that CM Punk is on his way back. So I think he's about another month away or so from being back on the active roster. But right now, WWE's just trying to float on their life preserver with the guys that they have, the guys and gals that they have, and hoping that nobody else gets hit by the injury bug at this point on the way to trying to get to SummerSlam, the other biggest show of the year, the third biggest show of the year. So we'll see how all that goes, and hopefully everybody stays healthy enough to get us there, and then we get people that start coming back and whatnot, and of course the inevitable return of Roman Reigns whenever that happens, so we'll be looking forward to that. But for right now, these King and Queen of the Ring tournaments are kind of keeping everybody intrigued. The matchups have been pretty good. I look forward to all the semifinal matches that'll probably be coming our way. So I'm definitely will definitely be paying attention to that, to that tournament, and it'll probably be it's definitely the vocal point of the I call it Crown Jewel. It's not even what it's called. It's literally called the King and Queen of the Ring in Saudi. That's not even called Crown Jewel. I keep calling it Crown Jewel because that's what it's always been called in the past, but that's actually not what it's called this year. I think it's just literally King and Queen of the Ring PLE in Saudi Arabia. So correct me. So I corrected myself for that one, but I'm so used to it. But that's what'll be the main focus point at next Saturday. Will be those semifinal and final matchups, and then of course the 2 championship matchups that we know about. There won't be any world heavyweight. Damian Priest will not be defending that title in Saudi. But by the looks of it, it looks like when Drew McIntyre is ready to go, he's gonna get a title shot against Damian. So there's just a little bit of a holding pattern there, but we'll see how all that goes. We're going to see how things go on Friday, and then I'm going to come back on here and we'll talk about it more in depth, and I'll get more in depth about my feelings towards the Logan Paul and Cody Rhodes matchup once I get a little bit more of an explanation as to, is this going to be a double title match or not? If it is, I got a lot of opinions on it. If it's not, then I still have opinions, but maybe not as much opinions about it if it was a double title match. But we'll see how things go with the tournament. So once we get through SmackDown, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about the semifinals that will be set up. But till then, guys, I just wanted to come on here and talk about my excitement about the tournament and where it's gone so far. But remember to like, subscribe, click on the bell icon for whenever I go live. Right now it's a solo act right now. Johnny T, the champ, is by himself right now, but hopefully sooner than later we'll have more people on here, even if it's not the Tribal Cheese and it's not Mr. Zero. There could be some special guests coming, and I'm gonna try to see what I can do, because I like talking to myself, but I like talking to other people too. So I enjoy the sound of my own voice, but I want to talk to other people too, get other people's opinions and whatnot. So we'll see what we can do on that. But until then, guys, I'm Johnny T, and we'll see y'all guys next time.